Hi there, welcome to What's Happening in Brazil. Let's start with the latest news from the country.
A legislative proposal wants to forbid the planting and marketing of transgenic wheat in Brazil. The theme of transgenic products continues under assessment by the Brazilian National Biosafety Commission. The bill emphasizes that the approval of transgenic wheat would increase the consumption of pesticides because this grain is used on a large scale, as in the preparation of bread, pasta, and crackers. Another concerning aspect is the possibility of contamination of the entire food chain, as scientific information to analyze the risks of modified seeds in food is still lack. While debating essential issues to health and life in the country, the Congress also needs to avoid risks and threats to democracy in Brazil. On last Tuesday, August 10, the Chamber of Deputies plenary rejected a Constitution amendment proposal determining the return of the printed ballots in Brazil. This idea is defended by President Jair Bolsonaro, who accuses, with no evidence, that there are frauds in the electronic voting system enforcing the country since the 2000s. This defeat undermines the president, but there is still reticence about how Bolsonaro will react. He gave his word to the president of the Chamber of Deputies, Arthur Lira, that he would respect the decision of the Legislative House. However, on the same day of the voting, Bolsonaro supported a military parade with tanks and vehicles of the Brazilian Navy. Many people see this move as a complete failure. Others see it also as an intent to intimidate the other branches of power.
In the Jardim Gaivotas community, a neighborhood of the southern part of São Paulo, hundreds of families are being threatened with expulsion from their homes. The imminence of repossession at the request of the São Paulo City Hall comes amidst Governor João Doria's veto of the bill that prevented evictions during the pandemic.
The São Paulo State Government vetoed a bill that suspended repossessions during the COVID-19 pandemic. The legislative proposal had been approved more than a month ago by São Paulo's Legislative Assembly, but the evictions continue. At Chácara das Gaivotas, in the Grajaú district, around 300 families are at risk of leaving their homes amidst the health crisis. Many have lived there for over 30 years.
In this case, it is as if our house was worthless. All this time, all this construction that we made, the expenses, it's as if it wasn't worth anything. If it's necessary to do the work, are we going to be unemployed?
The São Paulo City Hall justifies the evictions by saying that the area is part of the city's wellspring recovery program and the works aim at environmental repair of the Billings and Guarapiranga dams. These two water reservoirs supply the largest city in the country. But according to the families, the eviction announcement was sudden. At the end of 2020, social workers went to the houses to register the families, but without telling them why. The municipal administration offered a rent aid of R$400 for 6 months and promised residencies in a housing development, which had not even been built. Most of the families rejected the agreement.
There is no document, it's all spoken word. It's a social worker who sets up a meeting. We ask, try to call them, they say nothing, and we get like that. The 30-day deadline is over, and we still haven't left the house. We don't know what will happen. What we were looking for right now is just an indemnity, so we can leave it with the guarantee that we will be able to have a house in front of us. We don't want to depend on renting.
City Councilor Alfredinho from the Workers' Party has been trying to negotiate with the administration of Mayor Ricardo Nunes to get an alternative for the hundreds of residents.
We are not against the constructions of the Wellspring Recovery Program, even because we need the dams, we need them both. They produce the water we consume. The problem is that when the government came up with a program which has expropriation to be done, it should be intertwined with another housing option for people who will leave that place. The City Hall's stance is regrettable at a time like this, putting people in this situation an absurdity that we will not accept.
Samba is the traditional rhythm of Brazil, and maybe you have already listened to a little of this music genre here in the program. Some sambistas, the name to those who sing or play samba, help us to tell the story of their time. This is the case of Adoniran Barbosa, who told in several songs the sad reality of those who need to fight to have a place to live.
Adoniran Barbosa is an icon of Brazilian samba. Born in São Paulo, he was a chronicler of his time in a city where growth, inequality, and violence against the poorest walk hand in hand. This is the São Paulo portrayed in Adoniran's samba compositions.
Adoniran was born in the countryside in the city of Valinhos. He passed by Jundiaí before arriving in São Paulo around 1924. When Adoniran arrives in São Paulo, he finds a city in full agitation. In these first years, in the first decades of the 20th century, São Paulo experienced growth and development rates never seen before in other Brazilian cities.
Maloca eu fiz porque eu demoli prédio onde eu ia passear com os meus amigos de favela.
And the reality that inspired Adoniran to sing about the difficulties of living in São Paulo back in the 50s still remains.
I think that all this dwelling talk is very much related to progress, to the question of how the city was becoming this megalopolis in an uncontrolled and unplanned way, leaving the poorest on the sidelines. Today we have this very defined and straight name of real estate speculation. At that time, Adoniran was already singing about it without having this definition, this term. I think progress, or as he would say, progresso, is a determining factor in his view as a chroniqueur.
Na favela e contra seu desejo entregou pra seu Narciso aviso, uma ordem de despejo, assinada seu doutor. Assim dizia a petição, dentro de 10 dias, que era a favela vazia e os barracos todos no chão.
And now it's time for Brazilianism.
Hoje eu quero ensinar.
Today's recipe is a variation of the Brazilian breaded fried chicken dish, frango a passarinho, with a delicious bittersweet sauce to accompany, which you can eat along the several other fried foods. Look at what a nice recipe. Let's prepare the marinade. Start with the chicken. Place the pieces in a bowl, and in another bowl, add mashed garlic cloves and ginger, lemon, sugar, and soy sauce. Add the chicken, mix well, and marinate it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours to accentuate its taste. To prepare the sauce, you put sugar and vinegar in a shallow frying pan and let it boil until it turns to caramel. Add ginger and garlic and boil for 1 minute. Add pepper, mix well, let it boil, and set aside. Drain the chicken from the marinade. It is important to drain the pieces well and remove any small chicken pieces from the marinade. Let the chicken dry before putting starch on it. Put the starch on the chicken pieces and then fry the pieces into hot oil until they brown. For deep frying, it is important to have enough oil to submerge the food to the fried. This ensures that it stays dry without soaking. If you add too little oil, the food will absorb this oil, and then goodbye crispy frying. Drain the chicken. On a plate, arrange the fried chicken pieces, pour the sauce on it, and finish with red onion slices, coriander leaves, mint, and green onion.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We will see you next week.